Let's start with your paper, Andy, and the Mirror leading with the Harry Kane story. Harry Kane, Germans go for England skipper, but Spurs say 9 as they target Fox's £40 million Maddison. Andy, what's your read on this situation? Lots of murmurs and counter rumours about whether a bid has been made or not. What's your take at the moment? John Cross with the story in your paper.
Well, certainly a bid has been made. The Spurs obviously couch it when they say no official bid, but we know there's a bid. I see it as the opening gambit in a scenario that will play out over the next month or two with Harry Kane. Listen, I was at Bayern Munich for the Manchester City game when the second leg of the Champions League tie. And after 45 minutes, I looked down there and I thought, you know what? Harry Kane would have an absolute field day with Bayern Munich. The one thing they're lacking, imagine the likes of Leroy Sané and Musiala creating chances for him. He would run riot in the Bundesliga and he would win the trophies, obviously, that he has not yet won. Whether or not that would be his preferred destination, I'm not sure. I mean, one thing we've always got to take into account, he's got a young family, he might not want to move abroad. And if he did, I would have thought Real Madrid would have been maybe a preferred destination, maybe with just a little bit more glamour and certainly maybe a slightly better chance of that Champions League trophy. However, I can't see that this Bayern interest won't spark some action here. I mean, we're told that Manchester United have somehow cooled their interest if it was ever there at all. I can't believe it has. You know, I think now this will spare other clubs, maybe even Real Madrid, to think again. Certainly for Manchester United, because if they're not thinking again, then they should be. Teddy, I think this is just the start of the Harry Kane scenario. The question is now how much Daniel Levy will take, if any, for Harry Kane, because I think it's come to the stage now where Spurs have to say, listen, like, if you're not going to sign a new contract, you've only got a year left. You turn 30 in, 4 weeks' time, 28th of July, I think. And a business head has got to come on and the money has to be taken. Just the opening gambit this in the Kane summer transfer saga.
Absolutely. Let's bring in the Metro and Jeremy, bring this to you. Bayern's Kane bid, you and Roberts reporting on this desk, and Spurs determined to resist Munich's interest in Harry as Maddison deal nears. What do you think? Do you think that interest might grow on Tottenham's front to cash in on Kane, as Andy is suggesting there, if the offer's right?
I do think it will this time. I think it's completely different to 2021 when Kane had been persuaded a few years earlier to sign a 6-year deal, and he'd basically put all the cards in Daniel Levy's pocket at that point because he still had 3 years remaining on his contract. So Levy could resist that interest that there was from Manchester City a few years ago. This time there's only 1 year left, and we know that when it comes down to it, Daniel Levy will will always make the decision that's financially prudent for Tottenham. And I just can't imagine him wanting to let Kane run his contract down into next year. His contract expires in 2024. So although it might be a drawn out affair and there'll be lots of messages via the media and via agents and what have you in terms of the negotiation that will publicly play out, and it might get drawn out, and I'm sure Tottenham will be trying to get that figure up to closer to 100 million. But I just think the reality of the contract situation means that it will be different this time, and unless there's some big change of heart with Kane and he sees his future at Tottenham, he thinks that there's a possibility of winning trophies there, and it's hard to see how that's going to change for him in the next few weeks. I think Andy's right. I think this summer, everything's there for Kane to get the move that he wants, because it makes sense for Tottenham and Daniel Levy this time.
And if you're seeking trophies, Andy, in world football, there's not many clubs that you can go to perhaps to guarantee them like Bayern Munich. So let's bring in the back page of the Guardian Sports Supplement quickly there. Kane keen on Bayern move, but Spurs want at least £100 million. Is that a bit steep for a 30-year-old, as you say, next month, Harry Kane turning 30, but perhaps the ticking clock will be Kane's motivation to try and get out now? Will it to maximise the remaining years of his career and win things?
Yes, the simple answer is yes, it is a bit steep. And certainly, I think, although Bayern is clearly, one of the most storied, massive clubs in European football, I don't think they're going to £100 million for Harry Kane. What I find interesting about this whole transfer window, and this Kane falls into this category, is how the issue of players who've got 1 year left on their contract are still, it seems, going to be commanding huge fees. I mean, we're talking Mason Mount, Harry Kane, and plenty of others. Clubs are still wanting big money for players who are going to be free in 12 months' time. And from the player's point of view as well, of course, he can command more money in terms of salary in 12 months' time if he doesn't sign another contract. And I think there's got to be a bit of a redress of that balance, a bit of realism, in fees regarding Harry Kane, regarding Mason Mount, and regarding someone like Declan Rice, for example, as well. The realistic figure, and that's, again, it sounds, a huge amount, but you're thinking 70, 80 million pounds for a player, as I say, he turns 30 and has just those 12 months left on his contract.